Oh, it feels good to be back out on a bike. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and even though it's less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit today, it looked nice outside, and I was like, you know what, we gotta take this thing out for a ride. Just a few months ago, back in January, I picked up this 2006 Kawasaki Ninja 250. This is the quintessential beginner bike. You can pick them up cheap all day on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Cycle Trader, whatever you want. I actually paid $1,500 for this one, so really reasonably priced, and I think it looks sweet. Despite it just being a 250cc parallel twin, pretty small potatoes bike in terms of speed and power. It's kind of the Miata of motorcycles. It's lightweight, it's fun, it's inexpensive. Even though you can't get an inexpensive Miata anymore, you can still get an inexpensive Ninja 250, and it should be bulletproof reliable as well. So in order to test that, we are going to go out today and ride it in the winter. It's late February right now, February 23rd or 24th. I forget the days these days. So we're going to take it out and talk about kind of what goes in more to winter riding, if you will. If you want to ride your bike all year round, even in below freezing temps. A few things to note right off the bat. I do have the proper oil weight in here. So this is a cold weighted oil. It should be good all the way down to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, so I should be totally fine to ride that way. Tire pressures have been set and checked, even though we're in my heated garage right now, DMHQ. They're going to get a little bit colder outside there, and we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on those, but they should be good to go for riding today. I already got some rust forming on my brake rotors. It's interesting. I actually had this out over the weekend. Did a little bit of riding with it as well, and I had to rinse it off because it definitely got some salt, and hoping we don't see any other rust formation around this thing. But let's unfold the mirrors and get this thing started up. Hasn't started in about a week or so, and it is carbureted. So you see right here, we have a choke. I'm going to pull that all the way back and see what we got. We're in neutral. Comes right to life. Look at that. Adjust the carb down a little. I love how they have twin exhaust pipes on this bike. Just kind of adds to the aesthetic. So because this bike is carbureted, if any of you have watched some of RevZilla's recent videos on riding your bike in the cold, or Fortnite or anything, you know carbureted bikes do actually need a little bit of time to warm up because they're not going to run well in the cold if not. But plenty of things that go out in the cold are carbureted, such as snowmobiles, so we should be just fine with this. One thing this bike does not have is a low fuel indicator. So I don't know how you check the fuel level. Maybe that'll be our adventure today. We'll go out and we'll get gas. How exciting. We've got about half choke now. So let's push this thing outside. Oh, you can hear it's already starting to have some trouble with this colder air. Uh-oh, no, don't stall on me. There we go, still alive. Interestingly, this bike has a temperature gauge, and I've noticed as I've ridden it around lately in the cold, and it has trouble actually getting up to temp. I've actually had it out a few times, but only gotten it fully up to temperature once, and that's because I let it idle. All right, off we go. Right away, we can see coming out of DMHQ's lot here, one of the most important things to look out for when riding in the cold is salt. As not only can it damage your bike if you get it covered in salt, but it can kind of create a less than ideal road surface, be very slippery. So we're going to be pretty careful here in our complex. Once we get out onto the main roads, it should be more clear of salt because it hasn't snowed in a while here. As this warms up, I'm going to let out a little bit of choke. About half choke right now, I think. This is a liquid-cooled bike, but I'm sure it's practically air-cooled today. This bike has some pretty standard street tires on it. They're not super aggressive track tires or anything like that. So I shouldn't have to worry too much about grip. Now, if you were running a more aggressive summer tire, then traction while these tires are cold would be a little bit more of a concern for you. Oh, and there it just pooped out. So no worries, just... Is it going to idle now? Another thing you have to consider when you're riding in the cold is fogging on your windshield. Now, you guys can't quite see it because you're viewing through the GoPro, but my windshield is fogging up quite a bit right now. Part of that's because I am talking, so I'm adding a lot of heat and moisture into the helmet area. But if you're breathing heavy, if you're doing more aggressive style riding, or depending on your helmet, just if you're breathing to stay alive, you're going to run into fog. More expensive helmets are going to have more vents. Right now mine's clearing off as we're kind of doing higher speeds and got airflow going. I've got my vents open, but vents mean more cold air coming into your helmet, so you're going to be a little bit cooler. What can you do to prevent fog? Well, there's a few different options. One, you can it's more of your most universal option is to spray some sort of anti-fogging element onto your windshield, your windscreen, and then that should, in theory, kind of keep some fog from building up. I've heard those don't work fantastic, but they'll kind of do in a pinch sort of deal. The next step is to have a helmet that can have a pin lock shield. So this is a second piece of plastic or fiberglass or whatever the shield is made out of that latches in, locks onto the shield, and creates a little wind buffer in between the shield, the main shield, and the little pin lock shield. And then that should keep you from fogging up. Again, you might not see that in more budget helmets, and it's also another thing you do have to purchase and remember to put on your helmet. A third option, if you're going to be doing a lot of cold weather riding, and this is something we utilize on the snowmobiles, is a heated shield. Kind of actually, you plug it into the bike, or sometimes even into a battery pack in your jacket, some of the newer ones with newer battery tech. A heated shield, that goes in there, and that actually keeps the shield warmed up on your helmet and keeps fog from forming. That's going to be your most, your highest success rate, if you will, at keeping away fog. There's no times that we ever fog up on the snowmobiles when we're running those heated shields, but that's going to require a bike that's got some sort of power outlet. I mean, something like this Ninja 250, I'd have to wire something in. On my V-Strom, I could plug into the 12-volt outlet. And you've got to have just the right helmet and visor and everything. So it's going to be your most expensive, but your most bulletproof way of doing that. Let's see if I can let the choke all the way up now. We're still pretty much down in the cold. Seems to be running okay. This bike is fun. It's really lightweight. It's fun to toss around. Another thing you do have to consider when it's cold is how your tires are going to react. So just because I'm not running aggressive summer tires, track tires that are going to be really slippery, I'm still not going to have the same levels of grip with the tarmac as I would in the warm. And on a smaller bike like this, you can really feel the imperfections and kind of the wiggliness. And this being a bike that I'm not super familiar with, super confident with yet, and it being cold out, I haven't really pushed this thing much. So it's definitely still learning area. Oh, hey, look, we're getting up the temperature a little bit. Oh, and it's falling back down. I'm actively watching it fall. Even though this bike has a gloriously high 13,000 RPM redline here in 2006 model year, I'm not bringing it up to redline because all the components aren't fully warmed up. There's going to be different tolerances in the metals in the engine that are just not going to be fully up to temperature. Are we going to idle? Are we gonna idle? Hey, look at that. Choke is out and we are idling. Cool. Who needs fuel injection? Alright, we made it to the gas station, so it must not be that low. I was thinking that maybe there's like a fuel light on here or something, like a low fuel light, but I don't see where that would go. So, maybe there isn't. It's another thing to consider with these big thick gloves that I'm wearing. It's really hard to get my helmet visor open. One of these awry click lock deals. So I'm actually going to have to wait till I get into here. Bike is still idling fine with the choke out. I'm gonna let it idle while right up until I'm ready to put gas in it. This will actually be my first time putting gas in this bike. Pretty exciting. And look at that, our temp gauge is coming up. Nice, so it doesn't take too much idling. I feel some heat coming off the engine. There's a concept. Cool. Another thing that's cool with the Ninja 250 is it should be pretty darn fuel efficient. Should be able to get 50, 60 miles per gallon or so. Nice, quick, easy. A few gallons later. Click. We are ready to go again. I love how inexpensive it is to fill up a motorcycle. Another thing you got to be careful of when you're riding below freezing is wet spots on the road. Any of it could be ice. I'm out today because I know that it's been dry for the last few days. All the main roads have been well cleared out. It was up in the 50s for the weekend, so it's not going to be too cold, but I wouldn't go out riding if I knew there was going to be a lot of potential wetness on the road. This bike is so easy to flat foot. I've got both legs down so comfortably. Now that we're up the temp some, I can open it up a little bit. Woo! I love being able to wring this thing out and still only be doing the speed limit. Don't you be doing what you're doing, Sebring. Do a little bit of a highway section for you. Watching my engine temp drop. Woo-wee! Oh, it feels good to be back out on a bike. Look at how my temp has dropped down to almost cold just by running here on the highway. Another thing you do have to think about cold weather riding is your body, because if you're going to be running at higher speeds like that, it gets cold really quick. Wind chill is no joke. I've got a face mask on right now. I've got my big, thick snowmobiling gloves. I have a few layers of pants on, a few layers of jackets. I got my inner liner in. I've got thick socks, and I'm not planning on being out for a super long time. But if you're going to be out on a longer ride, especially doing any sort of highway running, you do need to be bundled up. Your body gets, as you get cold, as your body gets cold, everything slows down. Your body starts sending heat and blood to the vital organs, and your responsiveness slows. Your reaction time increases. And you'll start doing things like you'll start kind of shrinking up, and the main thing is you're going to be concentrating more on your body and getting yourself warm then you're going to be concentrating on riding and the traffic situation, the road situation, what your bike's doing. So that's a situation you don't want to be in. If you're going to go out and ride in the cold, even if it's not below freezing, even if it's a 50-degree day or if it's raining out or something, you need to be dressed for the job, and you have to be prepared to not just survive, but to be warm and to be comfortable so that you can focus on the safety aspects of riding, but also just enjoying it and having fun. I mean, what's the point of being out on one of these toys if you're not going to be enjoying it and having a good time? So don't just do it just to say you did it. Do it because you're actually going to enjoy yourself out there, and part of that is dressing accordingly. Yet another element of cold weather riding, especially in the early months, and kind of late winter, early spring, in states like Michigan here, is the condition of the roads. You need to be keeping an eye out for all of the potholes and the terrible road elements that have cropped up during the plowing months, during the freeze-thaw cycles. Road conditions are no joke here in Michigan. I mean, they're definitely a joke, but they're no joke when you're out on a motorcycle, because they could really mean the difference between life and death, and at least just having a really good day or a really bad day. So I know coming up onto this road, it's a great example of poor road conditions. Look at this. If I wasn't paying attention and I came bounding out onto this with this little Ninja 250, I would more likely than not be taking a tumble. So as you're going along, you're having fun, you're paying attention to the bike's temp, you're paying attention to your body's temp, the traffic situation, all that stuff, you gotta be scanning the road. I mean, you should always be scanning the road, but you gotta be even more careful out in the cold. Here we go, some dirt on the road. I'm gonna make sure I'm nice and upright, running over that. The moral of the story is, if you want to ride in the winter, in sub-zero temps, in February in Michigan, you absolutely can. You should go and try it. There's nothing about your bike that all of a sudden turns into a pumpkin once snow flurries start to fly and make it so you can't ride. Even something more sport-oriented. This is not necessarily a sports bike. Oh no. The GoPro actually pooped out on me. I don't know if it was it said ran out of battery, but I don't know if it was a cold issue or if it was a battery issue or what. But anyway, the moral of the story is, if you want to ride any sort of bike, as long as it's not a track bike with really aggressive summer or track tires, if you want to ride in the cold, go for it. Bundle yourself up. Get yourself suited properly, and follow the advice that's out there on the internet for both kind of how to keep your bike maintained, make sure you're running the right oil, tire pressures are still good. If the bike was winterized, you need to make sure to undo any of that winterization. If you put anything in the pipes to keep mice out of them, take those out. All your due diligence to make sure the bike is road worthy. That's still important. But get some good gloves, go to the Salvation Army or something, buy yourself some warm gear. I've literally just got cheap snow pants over my riding pants, and go out and do it. Have some fun. Don't keep yourself from it. I mean, look, it's dry out. And even though it's less than 30 degrees, it's dry, and you can do some riding. So if that bug is getting you, then head out and do it. So thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more on this Ninja 250, I will be doing a full intro to the bike probably in a few months after I've spent some more time with it. It's a little bit warmer out, and I can kind of go on some more beautiful roads and enjoy it. But I am excited to get some more time on it, even if it's not the most thrilling bike. It's kind of cool to see how much fun per dollar you can have with something like this, and being something designed in the 90s, it's looking pretty rad wood at this point. So I'm about it. I'm excited. And we'll also have all of our content on our other bikes. I thought about taking the Grom out today, but I think I'm going to leave it inside and Took the V-Strom out this weekend as well. That thing's running smooth, of course. But thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.